Play. Let's get cozy with each other. Sit back, grab your favorite warm beverage, light a candle, take a breath. Enter into this space, this experience with openness and curiosity. I'm going to be speaking about a really juicy and deeply fascinating topic that honestly blew my mind. This conversation stems from an experience that I had when I was in Bali, and it really just opened up my mind and my heart. And so I want to share that with as many people as I can. And what this experience was, I mean, there were many layers to it actually. It was deeply, fucking amazing. It taught me a lot about human beings, about men and women. And as you may know by now, I love to dive into juicy, raw, intimate, vulnerable, taboo topics that most people are not looking at and not discussing and not diving into because of fear, shame, conditioning, whatever the story is that we hold up here in our minds and in our bodies. So this is gonna be a juicy one, and we're gonna go real deep with it. So today I'm talking about this concept of men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Growing up, we heard this saying, right? I remember growing up hearing this saying, and it's kind of like a joke type of jingle, like, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I think there's like a whole little song, I don't know. But that is basically the topic of this discussion, is like, what are the core differences between men and women, how they relate to each other, and the gender stereotypes that we have about the other gender. So I love discussing topics like polarities, masculine and feminine, power dynamics, and intimacy, relationships, things like that. So we're gonna dive into all of that. And so what I went to in Bali was this men and women circle hosted by this young man and this woman in Uluwatu at this place called The Space. And it's funny because the event didn't have much information. It just said men and women gathering. That was the name of the circle. And I asked the women at the front desk, like, what is this event? Like, what is it like? And they said, oh yeah, it's really fun. It's like people getting together, men and women. Sometimes there's games and just talking. So I thought, okay, this is kind of like a men and women hangout sesh. I was interested to find out more. So I ended up going, and really the format was like a circle, like a women's circle or men's circle, but this one was men and women. And that was the first time for me that I had sat in circle with men and women. I've sat in circles with only women. I've held circles with only women, but never mixed. So that was super exciting for me. And the whole theme of the circle was talking about understanding one another. And this is why this blew my mind. Because for the first time in my life, I got to hear directly from men and women how they perceive the other gender and their more raw, genuine feelings towards women or towards men. And so the conversations ended up getting really juicy, really deep, really vulnerable, and we covered a lot of different topics. And I'm just gonna share what my takeaways were. And I actually, after the circle, I was so profoundly touched that drinking my cacao. I was so profoundly touched that I actually wrote down in my journal the takeaways that I received from it. So I'm going to share what I perceived and learned from what people shared. And I'm not sharing directly what people said, but I'm just sharing my perception and takeaways from the information that was shared. So first I'm going to start with women, and then, first I'll start with the women. With women, the things that I picked up was feeling like men should just get it. Like all of our things that we desire, the asks, the simple things that as women are so intuitive, we had this feeling like, why don't men just get it? Like, what are they not understanding? So that was one theme that I kind of like saw within the circle. Another one being that a lot of women are so frustrated that they've just given up on love and relationships completely. They have come into this place of, it's not worth it. It's not worth getting hurt. It's not worth going through this process of getting together with someone, being disappointed, being misunderstood, heartbreak, maybe ghosted. And so they've just written it all off altogether. And I thought, wow, that is so sad that we have felt so misunderstood, mistreated, hurt, pained, that we no longer see the value in coming together with a man. We no longer see the value in being in partnership. We no longer feel that it's worth the risk to open our hearts to someone. And yeah, so I thought that was really fascinating and I can also resonate, not through like personal experience. Yes and no. Like I can resonate with like just feeling so hurt that you want to close off. You close your heart, your blinders are on, you're just not focused on that. It's like you don't even care about men anymore. You don't feel turned on by them. You're not like attracted to them. You're just like, my blinders are up. I don't have the capacity for that right now. And so I also honor that stage that people are in, because it can happen, especially after, heartbreak or any type of deep pain. Another thing was, feeling like there's something wrong. The women feeling like there's something wrong with them when they get ghosted or abandoned, or like a man runs away from them. So I think this is kind of triggering that abandonment or feelings of unworthiness that lie beneath the abandonment when someone ghosts, runs away, closes off, because we start to internalize that and think, okay, what's wrong with us? And so I think beneath that, what I saw is like this deeper feeling of unworthiness that sometimes gets triggered when a man suddenly runs away, and then we're left with our fragility of feeling like, of course, it's me, like, well, it was me, like, what's wrong with me? I'm not hot enough, beautiful enough, smart enough, pure enough, whatever enough, successful enough, whatever the story is. You are more than that. You are everything and more. The next one that I noticed was, okay, this one definitely I really felt. Some women expressed how they didn't feel as comfortable to be open and vulnerable, sharing in that circle with men and women versus when they're just in a circle with only women. This is something that is very kind of expected. I think when it's all women, we feel more safe to open our hearts, to be vulnerable, and to share those uncomfortable, difficult things that we usually keep to ourselves. So that was definitely not a surprise to me. But underneath that, what I took that as is like, we don't feel safe with the masculine. We don't feel safe to be vulnerable and open ourselves to the masculine because we haven't had enough experiences where we felt held by men or by the masculine, where we feel like it's safe to be open, it's safe to be vulnerable. And this, can be reflected in so many different examples. Like for me, for example, it's like I grew up with a Asian father with Asian cultural conditioning where they're brought up to keep their emotions inside. They're not super vulnerable. They're not very open with their feelings. Everything's very suppressed. And so I never had a relationship with my dad where it was open communication where we talked about feelings and where I was like super vulnerable with him. That was just not in my reality. And I think this is something that is very common for many people, for men and for women. So for women, we're just not used to feeling vulnerably held and safe in the presence of men. And yeah, so for me, that is like, okay, this is a very clear goal, let's say, or direction that we can choose to move towards, of how can we create more space where men and women can be intimate with each other in this type of way, so that we can start to reprogram ourselves and unlearn that it's not safe to be vulnerable with men, and learn how to identify and create beautiful relationships and connections with men that are based off of open-heartedness and intimacy, and how that will just shift, you know, it's like domino effect. Like, yeah, so that was another fascinating takeaway. Okay, and another one that was brought up is the question around porn. So as women, we are curious, why are so many men addicted to or just dependent on porn? I was so grateful when someone asked this question. When do you ever get to just ask like a group of men, like, hey, like, what is up with this porn thing, and get a straight up vulnerable answer? And yeah, it was really beautiful to hear the men be honest and raw with their answer. And what's, I think for women, we're kind of just like, why? Like, what is it that it's fulfilling you with that you're not getting from a woman or from a relationship if you are in a relationship already? Like, what is this need that's like, you know, within you? Like, what is this relationship to it, right? So the response was very beautiful, and some men expressed that it's kind of a coping mechanism, at least for some, where they use it to as a coping outlet for avoiding some other feeling. And someone shared that, you know, if they were feeling full and whole already, they wouldn't need that crutch of porn. So I thought that was, yeah, it was really, really cool to hear from a male's perspective and their own internal process of what the relationship to porn is like. This is something that I want to dive into more in maybe a sit down with a friend. So I'll leave that topic for another time. And the last thing that I wrote here is the projected stereotypes and conditioned expectations of a man. Yeah, so this kind of ties into the gender stereotypes of what I was speaking before. So it's like, as women, what we expect the man to be and how those expectations actually keep us apart, because we're projecting of what we think a man is, and when we're not getting that, we feel like there's a gap, and then that's putting distance between us and him. And then simultaneously, he is feeling that projection and then feeling maybe feelings of lack because he feels like we're not meeting, like he's not meeting our expectations. What if we just let go of all of that? Let go of the expectations. And so that, yeah, that was another thing that was cool to see, is how what women's ideas around masculinity and manhood look like and what they expect from a man. I shared a lot during that as well, but the overall theme, which I got from the women, is that women are angry and frustrated with men. We are tired and feel hurt. We're in pain. We're in pain from the masculine. We are done with their shit. We are done with feeling hurt. We are done with being dismissed and disrespected and being hurt by their lack of awareness. that was the major theme and takeaway that I extrapolated from what I witnessed and observed, is that women are angry and frustrated, and rightfully so. I mean, look at the world. It's full of violence and capitalism, patriarchy, oppression. For years and years and years, women have been suppressed by patriarchy, right? So naturally, we are angry. We are fucking pissed. We are saying, fuck that, no more. I'm a boss bitch now. I am an empowered woman. I am in charge of my destiny. I am powerful. I don't need no man. I can get it on my own. I can raise a family on my own. I can get money on my own. No more. I am not accepting less. This is a generalization, but if I had to personify the kind of energy and theme that I felt, it was that type of energy. I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. I'm just expressing what I observed and was feeling. Yeah, on to the men's side. I feel like I gathered secrets that women aren't supposed to know, and that's why I wrote them all down. I'm like, holy shit, this is gold. Okay, so what did the men have to say? How do men feel? How do men feel? I think as women, we just would love to know, how do men feel? So this was something that was really beautiful to hear, actually, was the desire that a lot of men there expressed of feeling held in the feminine softness of love, so they can feel safe to express their emotions and be vulnerable. Let me stop right there. How beautiful is this? This to me sounds like inner child healing. And that was another theme that I picked up, was a lot of men want to feel that soft, all-encompassing, safe love so they can be vulnerable and open. And to me, that is the energy of the mother. That's that motherly love that is unconditional, that is safe, that is soft, that is like a warm embrace. And your man wants to feel that. He wants to feel that softness from you, because that is one of the most powerful and potent flavors of your femininity that can be shared and expressed. And so when we, as women, we desire for our man to open up to us, we have to be in that more soft, receptive state, even more so, because it's even harder sometimes for men to feel safe to open up, because it's less natural for them in our cultural conditioning. That was just, I loved hearing that. And I will say though, my little caveat to that is that as women, we obviously don't want to be the mother to our man. We don't want to feel like we're our partner's mom. That is just not hot. I mean, it can be hot, but you know what I mean. So I think my perspective on this is like, how can we tap into that energy and be that when it's needed, but make sure we're not always in that, so that we don't form this kind of like unhealthy mother and child relationship that many women, we do not like that. Okay, the porn, addiction stuff I already talked on. They said it was a bit of a habit and way of coping. And okay, this one was funny when we had this talk. How to approach women when interested. So basically the question was along the lines of like, how do you approach a woman to know if she's interested? Like, say you're texting her and you don't know if she's like into you, or if she's interested in connecting with you more. Like, how do you know? How do you approach it? It was so funny because all the women in the circle were like, just ask her. Just ask, be like, hey, I'm hi, or not hi, hey, I'm really feeling a connection with you. I would love to explore it more. Would you like to continue connecting with me further, deeper. Let's go on a date or something. You know, like the women are all like, you know, just say that. Easy. But the men are like, oh fuck, like what emojis do you send, and how do you know if they're like leaving hints? Or I was like, oh my god, so funny the way that even something simple like that is still like the men are confused, okay? And so that was one thing, that they just feel like communicating over text and receiving mixed signals or misunderstandings is something that they felt like was, you know, a topic of discussion for them, where they feel confused with women over communication. So what I said is, well, if you're unsure, meet them in person. Go hang out with them in real life. Or call them and just ask. Don't be afraid to ask, honestly and openly. Okay, another thing that men brought up was setting clear intentions and boundaries around the connection. This was more so around the context of, I guess, casual relationships, casual sexual relationships. And I think it's like the typical story of, you know, guy and girl man and woman start seeing each other. They don't want anything serious, but then the man is scared that the woman is gonna fall in love with him if he's too open and honest and vulnerable and expresses his feelings. Then the woman's gonna get attached and clingy, and then the man's gonna have to like ghost her or something. That's like the classic tale of, I think, how a lot of people perceive these types of casual encounters. And yeah, so I think when that topic came up, it was a lot about, okay, how can we set clear intentions and boundaries at the beginning? As a man, if you know your intention is purely casual, but you're making it seem like you want more, that is a recipe for disaster and a recipe for pain. If you can come in a situation knowing what your desires are and then just being honest with it and just expressing it, the woman is gonna be so much more appreciative and respectful and turned on and possibly attracted to you, because you are just being honest with her and yourself and just laying it on the table. It's when your intentions are one thing, but what you're saying is another thing. And then as a woman, we can sense the dishonesty, like that somewhere there's a discrepancy between the truth and what's being told to her. And so that is actually what makes us feel anxious and clingy and attached, because we sense that something is off. Our internal intuition is like feeling into something, and so we want to know what that is. And I think that oftentimes that's when we get attached, because we're like, oh my god, like, again, it's a story of like, what is wrong with me? So then we want to know, we want to prove ourselves, we want to like figure out the thing. So definitely just be honest. If you're worried that if you're honest with your intention and then the woman no longer is interested, okay, maybe you'll miss out on an opportunity for sex. But at least you practiced honesty, and you know that with the next person that is on the same wavelength as you, it's gonna be way more of a clean interaction and probably be more enjoyable and more pleasurable overall. Okay, another thing that was brought up was the concept of the chase. And this was interesting because there were different perspectives on this between men and women, where I found that men love and enjoy the thrill of the chase. And if a woman is too accessible, then it lowers their attraction and desire to be with them or pursue them. And as women, we're like, fuck, we don't want to play games. Or at least for me, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to play games. I want to be honest. Like, I don't like, personally, I do not like the chase or these games of having to be hot and cold to make a man be interested in me. And so, yeah, there were a bit of opposing views about this topic, which I found super fascinating. So I'm curious what your views are on this as a man or a woman, or non-binary, trans. I'm saying men and women a lot in this because that was the container that this conversation was in. But if we go into deeper topics of like non-binary, trans, queer, I think it gets even more, I think actually it gets less sticky in some ways because everything is more fluid and expressed, but then it gets more sticky in other ways because how people identify is so varying. But I think that's what also makes it less posing, because there's so much choice in how you identify, so there's less constructs around how your identity should be. Anyways, side tangent, that's just my thought. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the chase. So yeah, I've always been the type of person that I'm not a chaser. If I like you, you're gonna know. If I don't like you, you're gonna know. So, but what I've realized actually through studying the art of seduction and just reflecting on this is that even though my intention isn't to play mind games or create this game of chase, I totally understand this psychological and emotional excitement of that beginning stage of mystery. I think that's more what it is. It's not like, we're needing to necessarily change who we are and change how we show up and how we act with someone in order for them to like us, because that doesn't feel good for me. But the aspect of playing within and embodying mystery in a natural way, that feels resonant with me. So it was interesting to know that, okay, men really value this more so than maybe women do. I'm not sure. But at least for me, that's how I feel. Personally, I like when a man is super honest with how they feel. But there's kind of like a spectrum. It's like, for me personally, it's like when a man is super honest with how they feel, they're super open and honest with how they feel. That's me, perfect in the middle. If they're like hiding how they feel, not being honest, can't be emotionally vulnerable, that's just not where I'm at right now with what I desire. And then the other side of the spectrum is like the anxious attachment, clinginess of like, they're so obsessed, they keep messaging, they're super attached, they feel super attached, they're just like, whoosh, like a bit of overwhelm. That's like the other side of the spectrum. So I think like in the middle of that is what I like. Not sure about other women, but I'm sure some can definitely relate to that. Whereas for men, I feel like they actually enjoy more of the coldness, because the way I think of it is that evolutionarily, is that a word? The way I think of it is that through evolution, men were always the hunters. They were always the ones that were going to go on the mission to feed the family, to go to war, to fight, to go out and win, to conquer. It's just built into their DNA, their biology. And I think with finding a mate, even if you watch any Animal Planet show, you will see how it is. Like, we are, at the end of the day, we're primates, right? So when you watch Animal Planet and you see that it's what example can I use? You see the hippo. Let's see the hippo. You see the hippo, that's the woman, and she is big and she is strong and she is independent. And then you see the two male hippos and they fight in her honor, and whoever wins gets the mate. So there's this idea of enjoyment from the mission of achieving a mate, of finding a mate. I think that is like very ingrained into men, that feeling of like you feel like you need to go through some challenge in order to win a woman, let's say. And so I think the chase is definitely part of this. So just knowing that as men and as women, it can be very useful. But it can also get a little deceptive, right? So we just have to be aware of it and know where the boundaries are. I think another thing that came up is that so the past few years, we've definitely had this wave of awakening around sexual abuse, the Me Too movement, let's say, and then all these other movements and shifts that have happened in the last few years. And so I think because of this, men are actually really terrified of being canceled, of offending a woman, of hurting her, of something like this. So that came up in the circle of men feeling like they're scared to offend a woman. They don't know how to approach her, and therefore they're scared, and they want to learn. They want to know. They're curious. They just don't know how to ask, maybe. They don't know where to go, and they just are unsure. Another thing that came up was the pressure of being the provider. So this is a very typical gender role, is the man being the provider. And I think this is one of those things that's also kind of biologically, I don't know if biologically is a word, but evolutionarily ingrained, is men are typically the provider. And I think what people express is that this puts a lot of pressure on them. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. So I see you. If you feel that way, I want you to know that there are women out there that see you just as wholly and purely, even if you're not the provider. That's what's so beautiful about this balancing between masculine and feminine, is that more women are stepping into that. We want to be the providers. We want to be the strong feminine leader in a dynamic. And so there's space for everyone. And I think a space where there's acceptance and pressure is going to be the best environment for any type of relationship to flourish. Okay, next was holding space and receiving the emotional weight of a woman's storms and emotions and the fear of not knowing how to help. Okay, so as we know, women, we're just generally more in tune with our emotions, more emotional. There's many layers to that and why. But generally, we can be way more expressive with our emotions, crying and screaming, anger, whatever it is. And wow, what a gift that is for us to actually feel like that is accessible and safe for us to express our emotions. Like, wow. And then men, they're kind of like, holy shit, I don't know how to deal with this. What is going on? What do I do? Freeze, right? I used to be a lot more emotionally closed off. So when people were emotional in front of me, I literally would freeze. I did not know what to say, didn't know what to do, felt super awkward and uncomfortable. I can imagine many men feel like this as well. And that's one thing that came up during this circle, is men are like, holy shit, like sometimes I feel like I am just holding all of her emotional baggage, and it is heavy. I think as women, we can do a better job of being aware of that and just still sharing with our partner all of our emotions and shit, but just being aware of like, okay, what is their capacity? What am I really needing to receive through this interaction? And then on the flip side, men, how much capacity do I have right now to hold her through her emotions? Can I express that? Can I be aware of that? And then can I just be here and listen? And I feel like 80% of the time, that's all we want, is someone to listen to us. And then boom, that's half of it right there, just dealt with. But sometimes not. One thing someone brought up in this circle that was amazing technique of this 3-phase strategy for dealing with holding space, holding emotional space for your partner. 3 categories. Okay, so the first is that you want to ask your partner, what kind of support do you desire right now? And say your partner is just, it's for men or women, say your partner is just expressing some pain, some emotional heaviness, some baggage, whatever it is. They're unloading their emotions onto you. You want to ask them which one they're desiring. Do they desire you to listen? Do they just want you to sit down, put down your phone, look them in the eyes, hold their hand, and listen? Number 2, do they want you to help them problem solve by being a mirror, by being a sounding board for them? What I mean is, do they want to actively kind of bounce ideas off and problem solve together this thing that is making them feel some type of way. So for example, it's like asking questions, being devil's angel's advocate, diving deeper. I think the main thing is just like asking questions about it. You know, being that mirror of like, okay, this is what you're expressing. Like, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? And naturally, sometimes that will work the problem out itself through just a conversation like that. And number 3, all hands on deck. Your partner wants you to help them with this problem. They need your support. They need your full attention and support and resources and energy as much as you're able to expend to help them solve and deal with this current situation in their life. I thought this framework was absolutely genius. Wow. I hope that you take this with you just the way that I took it with me when that person shared it, because I think this can solve like so many intimacy and arguments and all these like different issues that people have within relationships. And this isn't even just between men and women, this is between all humans in general. Friendships, partnerships, even like work relationships, any type of dynamic. Boom, ask, what kind of support do you need right now? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to help you solve this? Do you need my full support? Do you want me to fix this for you? Yeah. And that was something else that came up a lot is men feel like they have this innate desire to be the fixer and to feel useful. And I think that's very true. I'm curious what you think, but I think men want to feel useful, definitely. Again, it's part of their primal software or primal, what's the other one? Hardware? Yeah, their primal hardwiring of, you know, using their hands and being active and being solution oriented and wanting to like make shit happen. They want to feel like they're being of use in a way. And they want to feel needed. They want to feel like a man. They want to feel like they're enough. They want to feel like they're in service to you, actually. So as women, how can we allow them to feel that way? How can we create a space for them to actually feel empowered through offering their gifts to us and then us being appreciative of them? And it creates that natural, healthy, symbiotic relationship. I wrote a lot of things down. Yeah, we talked about, okay, what else here? Exploring the line between men, find value. Okay, these are kind of like my takeaways as well, is that in general, men do not have as many containers or relationships in their life where they can be emotionally expressed. In general, it is less common that men speak with their other male friends about emotional things and more vulnerable things in the way that women do with their female friends. I think this is something that is very much, I feel like we can all kind of feel into that and be like, okay, yeah, we feel like there's truth to that. And so what I gathered from that is that men are extremely thirsty for intimacy and deep connection. So they actually value so much the ability to be intimate with someone. And what I found through this conversation is that specifically in a container with one person where they can go really deep. I'm not sure if that's true for everyone, of course, but that's what I felt, is that men really value what it can be like to be in a two-person dynamic going really deep together. And what they truly desire is emotional safety, to express themselves, to feel like it's okay to express their emotions. And to me, that is so beautiful. And that all the gender roles, stereotypes, conditioning, programming from their parents that have told the story that men are less masculine and less of a man if they show their true feelings and open their heart. That burden of suppressing everything and keeping it inside is a huge, heavy, painful weight to hold. And I empathize so much. I can relate actually because I used to be really closed off as well. I didn't know how to open my heart. I was more masculine in that way of being closed and cold-hearted and not so open with my expression of love and emotion. And so it's not a choice. We don't choose to close ourselves. It's the byproduct of the world that we grew up in, the stories that are in our minds. My biggest takeaway and theme from what I observed from the men is that they are extremely curious and they want to learn how to approach and be with a woman. They have the desire to be the man that she wants, but he's also scared about doing the wrong thing. A bit of a zoomed out perspective, that is what I gathered, is that the women are angry and frustrated. Men are confused as fuck and they want to learn. And that men, a lot of inner child wounds that maybe haven't been given space to be addressed because they just haven't felt that emotional safety to go through that. And I think as women, that's not our responsibility at all to hold someone through that and be the person guiding them through that. That's why therapy and coaching and doing the inner work, listening to podcasts, self-study is all required to get to a level where your past stories, the stories that you have, aren't overshadowing your current relationships and putting a lot of weight and projection onto your relationships. So I think no matter what, it's in all relationships, you need to do like some groundwork on your own in order to come together with more ease and openness. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. My hope and ask is that as women, we have more compassion towards men. We can be angry, that's fine. Be angry, be angry. Just don't direct your anger towards men because they are confused and they want to love you, they want to be with you, they want to please you and serve you and be useful for you. They just don't know how necessarily. No one has taught them how. No one has seen, they haven't seen examples of what it looks like to be with an empowered woman that knows her worth, knows her divinity, knows her power. They only know how to treat women the way that women have been treated in the past. And we are in a new paradigm now. That shit is out the door. So my wish and my ask is that as women, we be the leaders and the teachers and the support to help men get on the right track to learning how to open, be a safe space, to just inquire and be curious and ask questions. And if you desire that beautiful partnership, that sacred union, know that it is possible and requires a lot of intentional work around it to get there. My belief is that it's worth it, and so it's up to you. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. May this be a world where we both come together in love and in harmony, in balance and reverence for each other, because we need each other. And when we come together, we are so much more powerful. When the love is reciprocal and flowing, we are so nourished and held, supported by each other. Hope that this video taught you something about your fellow brothers and sisters. May this be a conversation that sparks deeper curiosity into any of the topics that I've brushed upon. Each one I could definitely dive into in more detail. For the sake of this video, I just wanted to share my overall takeaways. Let me know which topic is most fascinating to you, maybe which one you never thought of before, or is something you're actually really passionate about. Please leave me a comment below. Sending you all so much love. Thank you for being here with me and diving deeper into the delicate and daring parts of humaning. I send you all my love. See you in the next one.